Biden's COVID relief plan about to become law. So what's in it for you? Could herd immunity be closer than we think? And we're talking Oprah's bombshell royal interview that's making waves on both sides of the pond this morning. Monday Need to Know. Let's go. Good morning. This is Cheddar's Need to Know podcast for Monday, March 8th. I'm Jill Wagner with Carlo Versano. Hey, Carlo. Good morning.
Good morrow. How was your weekend, Jill?
Weekend was the weekend. Same old. How about you?
It was actually quite eventful because we signed a new lease on a new apartment, so I'm feeling extremely relieved this morning. Obviously, if anybody has ever dealt with the New York City real estate complex, they know that it's enough to turn a sane person into an axe murderer. So I'm glad that is done and dusted. We will have a new apartment soon to welcome this baby into the world. So I'm feeling good.
That's wonderful news, Carlo. I'm very happy for you guys. All right, let's get to some news because there was a lot of it over the weekend as usual.
Indeed.
So the Senate passed that $1.9 trillion economic stimulus package on a party line vote over the weekend. All Democrats voted in favor, all Republicans voted against. The bill now heads back to the House for a final approval before President Biden will sign it into law probably sometime later this week. So that's the timeline we're looking at. Among the key provisions, $1,400 checks for eligible adults and dependents, a 6-month extension of $300 weekly unemployment benefits, $170 billion for schools, $350 billion for states and cities, and about $27 billion for rental assistance, and a major new child benefit, which we're going to talk a bit more about in a second. Biden's planning to hit the road this week to sell that package to the American public.
So this thing is twice the size of the 2009 stimulus passed by Obama in those bleak days of the Great Recession. It's absolutely massive. It's also a massive win for the Democrats and for President Biden. He now needs to avoid the mistake that Obama made back then, and really try to explain to regular people how this helps them. I think that it's pretty. It's clear, I think, to a lot of people, but still, it's very important, I think, for the White House that their messaging is good on this. So a typical family of four in this bill is going to get off the bat about $7,600 in cash money. Democrats did this thing with a razor-thin majority. They had to trim some stuff like the minimum wage. But by and large, the bill that's going to be signed into law this week is the same one that Biden proposed on January 14th, before he was even inaugurated. Nobody thought that was going to happen. I count myself among the skeptics. I thought for sure they were going to end up cutting probably $1 trillion off this thing. So I was actually quite surprised that they kept their caucus, in line and passed this thing.
So I actually don't think he's going to have a hard time selling it to the public.
No, I don't either.
The public is mostly in support of this package already. But I do think the fact that no Republicans got on board, I just don't know what that means for the rest of his legislative agenda, right? This was supposed to be like kind of the easy thing. Just a stimulus package, money for vaccines, money for schools, et cetera. And by the way, there has still not been a Joe Biden press conference yet. It is the longest a president has gone in recent history without holding a Q&A with the media. So he'll answer questions. He will answer questions if he's holding an event. He'll answer one or two questions at the end from a reporter, but not like a full 2 hours of getting questions. So I do wonder why they're doing that, why he hasn't gotten out there.
They're clearly keeping him on a pretty tight leash for reasons that, I don't know. I won't say what I was going to say there because I'll get in trouble.
Why? What do you think? I don't know. What's your guess?
I think that they're, I think they're trying to do the opposite of what Trump did, which is basically he was just rampaging through the White House and doing whatever he wanted. And they're just trying to be stay on message. Don't talk unless you have to talk. Don't accidentally say something that's going to get you in trouble.
Right.
Yeah. So, by the way, I was wrong on something that I said, I think on Thursday. I just wanted to clear up. Whatever you're entitled to in this stimulus is based on whatever your last tax return is, not necessarily 2019. I said that it's based on your 2019 tax return. So if you're worried about not being eligible, for instance, because like you had a good job in 2019 and you lost it last year in the pandemic, just make sure you file those 2020 taxes if you haven't done so already. So apologies for that. And thank you to the folks who corrected me.
And we also made an error as well that I just wanted to clear up about. We said that daily COVID cases had dropped to 40,000, but that was not true, right? It was higher
65,000. Yeah, I misread well, it was misreported that the numbers were down to 40,000, but yeah, it's closer to 65. I think it's getting closer to 60,000 now.
Which is a very big difference. 40,000. I remember reading it, and I even messaged you after just saying, "Are we sure that that's correct?" Because that would be I think that would be just a different conversation about where we are in this country. So
40,000 is like where we were in September.
Yes,
so, yeah.
it's just so we're still quite elevated.
Sure.
Although clearly far from where we were after the holidays. Okay, a lot of ink's been spilled over the $1,400 checks and the minimum wage, which is still in, and the minimum wage hike, which is out. But a lot of economists think that the most potentially transformational aspect of this bill is the expansion of the child tax credit. So under the new law, most families will get a monthly check from the government of up to $300 per child. More than 93% of American kids are eligible for the benefit, which essentially amounts to a guaranteed basic income for poor and middle class families. That provision alone will cost about $100 billion per year.
Yeah, so Republicans are calling this welfare, but what it really is our first national experiment with UBI, with Universal Basic Income, and I think it's going to be absolutely fascinating to watch how this sort of works. Unlike the current, there is a current child tax credit, right? But it's sort of complicated, and it works like a tax credit, where this sort of works like cash money. The money is going out as monthly checks, as you noted, rather than as sort of like this annual tax reduction. Direct deposits into people's bank accounts to help with cash flow. That's what they're going to see from this. The benefit is temporary. It only goes to the end of this year, but Democrats have already said that they plan to make it permanent, and I think it's almost certain that they will, just because once an entitlement exists, it's almost impossible to get rid of it. If you just look at Obamacare, right? Republicans couldn't even get rid of it, and when they had full control of the White House and Congress. So the child tax benefit is really it's going to be just very interesting to see. And Biden has said they think that this is going to cut child poverty in this country in half. Maybe that's a little bit too rosy, but if you believe, as I do, that when there's a single American child that is in poverty, that's a national embarrassment. That this is going to go a long way towards that.
On to the pandemic now. Epidemiologists have been saying that somewhere between 70 and 85% of Americans need to get vaccinated to hit that herd immunity threshold that would effectively defeat COVID. New polling suggests that target not necessarily so out of reach anymore. According to Pew Research, 69% of U.S. adults now plan to get their shots if they haven't already, up from 60% in November and 52% in September. The daily vaccination rate hit 2.9 million on Saturday, and now up to 2.2 million on a weekly rolling average. About 90 million doses have been administered so far in this country. So this is really starting to look pretty good, Carlo.
Oh, yeah. I mean, first of all, haven't I been saying this, not just pat myself on the back here, but, the more your neighbors get vaccinated, the more your friends and your family get it, I think the more people are going to want to get it. It's almost like vaccine FOMO, right? It's like these people are getting it and they're fine and they're able to do things like hug their grandkids and maybe go sit in a restaurant. So maybe I should get it too. So I saw that poll and I was like, this is fantastic. This is what I was hoping was going to happen, and it looks like it is. I think that I hope so too. And it's polling, so it could obviously be wrong, and who knows what'll happen. But I really think that there's a chance that we're going to hit herd immunity this summer. I mean, knocking on wood here, but I'm feeling good, Jill. I'm feeling good.
I hope you're right. I think part of the challenge isn't just. I think the polling doesn't show the depth of the issue, because it's not just about sentiment and kind of this idea of would you get it. It's like, can you get it? We have to make sure that for
Sure, yeah.
part of this population that doesn't live near Walgreens or can't call an Uber to get to, or doesn't have a computer or whatever, we have to make sure that we have the logistics and the apparatus to be able to vaccinate people who would be underserved otherwise, right? Like maybe they need to do more of these kind of roving vaccination centers where that they go into neighborhoods. And I don't know.
Point,
I'm hoping that you're correct and we hit that number. But I think it's more than just kind of a poll about sentiment here. Meanwhile, in New York, the top Democrat in the state's legislature calling on Governor Andrew Cuomo to resign, the most high-profile state official yet to come out against Cuomo in the wake of several sexual harassment accusations against him. Andrea Stewart-Cousins saying that the scandals surrounding Cuomo become a distraction, quote, that is drawing away from the business of government. Over the weekend, Cuomo was accused by another former aide of presiding over a toxic work environment and that he summoned her to a, quote, dimly lit hotel room in 2000 and embraced her before she backed away and left.
The dam breaks. These things keep coming out. A weekend call with Cuomo had a weekend call with reporters in which he said, quote, "There is no way I resign." So that actually happened right before Stewart-Cousins came out and called on him to. But I mean, again, maybe I'll have to eat crow on this, but I just don't think he's going to. And frankly, why would he? Right? He's a governor. As long as his approval rating hasn't collapsed, which last time I checked, it hasn't really. I just don't think he's going to leave. Governors are sort of interesting in that way, right? They're sort of like they don't really answer to anybody. I mean, I guess they answer to the public, I guess, but as long as the public is not like out there with pitchforks, I don't think he's going anywhere.
Okay, we have to get to the Meghan Markle and Harry interview, Carlo, because I turned it on last night for a minute thinking I'm going to watch, and then I want to go to sleep. I'll watch, 20 minutes of it. Mm-hmm. Whoa. Okay, so let's talk about the bombshell interview that is making headlines across the world. Meghan Markle telling Oprah Winfrey that her life as a royal had become so unbearable that she contemplated suicide, and that the apparatus surrounding the royal family, whom she and Harry refer to as the firm, had concerns about how dark baby Archie's skin would be, and also told the couple, or at least told Harry, that he would not receive security or a title upon his birth. Harry also spoke about a falling out with his father, Prince Charles, and his brother, Prince William, over his decision to step back, and denied reports that he had blindsided the Queen. Okay, Carlo, did you watch?
Yes, I did. Not the entire thing, but most of it.
Good.
First of all, before we get into it, CBS makes it virtually impossible. They are the worst network in terms of if you don't have a cable box, they just make it so hard to stream CBS Live. I don't understand it. But anyway, that's a conversation for another day. Okay, so what are we talking about?
Well, so what was your reaction at watching it?
Sorry, I was honestly surprised by my reaction. I was like you said, I was sort of enthralled, and I thought that maybe this is because like I'm sort of like my brain is sort of rewiring as I'm about to become a father here. But I was so taken with what Harry was talking about, particularly, a father's number one, I mean a parent really, right? But like a father's number one job is to protect his family, right? Nothing else matters. Like that's the job. Once you have a kid, that is it. And I found myself really empathizing with him saying that basically like I have to take care of my wife and my baby. They're not okay in this environment, even if that means I'm going to be ostracized by the firm, as he calls it, but right by the royal family. I really respected that. I really did. And I thought she was incredibly easy to empathize with. The audacity of Buckingham Palace last week saying that they're going to investigate these bullying claims against her when she was talking about how her mental health was in such dire straits that she went to the palace asking for help, and they were basically like, "Sorry, can't help you." That was amazing.
Well, and then Harry saying that 70 members of Parliament from both sides, from both political parties there, coming out and condemning the British press for just the racism in the coverage of Meghan, and him saying, no one in my family spoke out about it. What does that tell you?
Right.
obviously, to me, the bombshell was that they were asking, the firm, and I put that in quotes, was asking about how dark their baby's skin would be. I mean, wow.
Yeah. I liked Oprah's reaction too. She was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. What? What?
And then I like, so I mean, a master class in interviewing, because she asked Meghan for the name. So that was a conversation, to be clear, that happened with Harry and not Meghan. So she asked Meghan, who was like, I'm not naming names. And then so she's like, I'm going for Harry. I'm going to ask him. And Harry also said, no, I'm not going to name names. Although Meghan did clear up that issue, because there was, I guess, a lot of talk in the press in the UK about that Meghan made Kate cry related to the wedding.
Right.
And Meghan said, no, it was actually the reverse situation where Kate made me cry over bridesmaid dresses, and it was a whole thing, but she had apologized. Unbelievable.
And interestingly, Meghan said, she was like, well, yeah, look, like there was a rift between us, but she apologized, and she's a good person, and I don't hold that against her. So it's not like she was like, we're like mortal enemies. I mean, I think that even putting the racism stuff aside for a minute, which I know you can't really do because it's like very important, but the thing that I think you have to remember with this stuff, even if you're not even that interested in it, is Prince Harry, his mother was killed, right? She died. I mean, she died in a car accident that arguably happened because of the British press, right? And I mean, the way, like, so he saw that, like he was a child, and him and his brother saw what happens there. And I think him being like, look, I'm not letting that happen. I'm not even, if there's even a 1% chance that could happen to my wife or my child, I'm out. I'm done. So I really respected that, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I also think that just this so watching The Crown, obviously it's based on the real story, but I think we all think we know what's going on behind, because we watch The Crown. The idea of this firm, right? That there's like this apparatus or this group of people who's kind of pulling the strings, and that that is fascinating to me, because it's like, who are you talking about? Because at least from the interview, it sounds like they have a nice relationship with the Queen. It's not the Queen, right? Like, Meghan was saying, no, the Queen and I hit it off right away. So it's like, who's running the show there? And Harry also insinuating that, like, they're all prisoners. Like, the whole royal family is kind of trapped in this life. And Oprah was pushing back, like, so trapped in Buckingham Palace, and Harry's like, no, I mean, you're not really free to be who you want to. You don't really have the freedom that everyone else has. It's just
which The Crown did a very good job of sort of showing, I think, right? Especially with regard to the Queen. By the way, I'm calling my family the firm now. That is
100%. I already call my parents' house the compound, and it's like a small little house that I always just said, anytime I used to go home before I owned a house myself, I'd be like, go to the compound. I'm 100% calling the Wagners.
The firm's calling me up to the suburb for dinner tonight, so gotta go.
And I think we have real time. It's hard to talk about anything else besides this interview, which I almost want to watch it again. But just quickly want to mention Eminem firing back at young people on TikTok who've been calling for him to be canceled for his past use of offensive lyrics, particularly the 2010 hit Love the Way You Lie with Rihanna. In response, the rapper released an animated video for his song Tone Deaf, and he raps, quote, "You think getting rid of me is a piece of cake? I'm harder than finding Harvey Weinstein a date." I can't believe that's the line that we decided to profile. But there are a million lines, and it's basically him saying, shut up, you young kids. I'm going to say whatever the heck I want.
This story, I mean, the Zoomers are fast becoming my least favorite generation, if I can say that. They are people complain about millennials being annoying. Gen Z is way more
Is that their nickname, Zoomers?
Yeah, Gen Z, Zoomers,
I
right?
never heard. I don't know.
Yeah.
Where have I been?
First of all, we litigated this back when this happened. Okay, we litigated the Eminem, these lyrics. It happened already, right? We're not doing this again. We did it back when these kids were in diapers. It's Eminem. He is what he is. Love him or leave him. Like, he ain't going anywhere now. The guy's like 50 years old. He's still making music. Secondly, you're not supposed to be offended by music lyrics, kids. Okay? Can I just say that? It's supposed to be that your parents get offended by the music lyrics. They tell you you can't listen, and then you rebel by listening, right? It's not supposed to be you being like, oh, this guy needs to be canceled because he's saying something offensive. It's amazing. The change, right?
It's such a weird irony that right now, right, it is the young kids who are offended by everything, and the parents who are like, chill out. It's just a music lyric.
It's the Gen X parents who are now, they're just like, guys, relax. It's so weird.
But I think Eminem's response, I mean, look, there's no way to defend some of his lyrics, nor is there a way to defend lyrics from a lot of musicians and rappers, especially, back in the day. Misogynistic and the way they talked about women and et cetera. However, his response, as we talk about master classes, put out some more music and an amazing video. And I think, I don't know. I mean, I'll get
defend
the attention.
Eminem. I'll always defend Eminem, even though he's not any. I mean, I used to love him, and I don't think he's close to what he used to be. But I'm just gonna defend him. I'm sorry.
8 Mile, great movie.
It is.
Okay, that is what you need to know for Monday, March 8th.
Sorry for offending the Gen Z listeners, if we have any. I think we do. Sorry, guys.
It's not all like it's a
it's not everybody.
Look, it's a generalization. It's not everybody.
Yes, of course. Right. But write us in. Tell us why I offended you today. All right, guys. Have a good one.